Okay, welcome to our webinar today. We are going to discuss how to overcome Q4 challenges on Amazon, something that is near and dear to many of our hearts. So hopefully you can walk away today with some actionable tips that will make it your best Q4 yet. My name is Colleen Quattlebaum, and I am the Director of Marketing at Connect Books. And I will just kind of go through the other expert presenters that we have here today. And maybe each of you can introduce yourself and tell us where you're calling in from today, because I think we have quite a few of us from all around the world. I'm working from home today in Richmond, Virginia. So how about you, Blair?
What's up, guys? Yes, I'm currently in Toronto, Canada. I would prefer no Canadian jokes for the time being for this session. I'm going to Kentucky tomorrow. I'm starting my world tour tomorrow, but I'm in Toronto. We have a big HQ. We have a big warehouse here. I'm the founder of AMZ Prep. We're a global logistics partner for Amazon merchants, D2C, one of the biggest Amazon Prep partners globally. So we ship a lot of items, we store a lot of product. The sexy world of logistics, I talk all about it. But no, I'm really excited to be a part of this. And obviously we got some really, really incredible, talented people speaking with me. So I'm excited. Thanks for having me, Colleen.
Sure. And for those who have not met Blair before, he is the founder of AMZ Prep. So he's going to share some great tips when it comes to inventory management and prep. All right. And Georgie from SellerSnap, introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Georgie. I am from SellerSnap. I'm an account executive and customer success and sales manager here. We're an Amazon repricing software that helps really optimize any Amazon sellers listing during all parts of the year. But today we're going to be talking about Q4, of course. I am originally from London, but I'm living in the lovely Tel Aviv. Yeah. I'm really excited to chat with you guys today.
Great. Thanks for joining us. And next up, Shane.
Yeah, so my name is Shane Barker. I'm actually the owner of TraceFuse. I reside in Reno, Nevada, so we're on the outskirts of, you ever been to Lake Tahoe or anything in those areas? We're probably the stepchild to Las Vegas as well. So you've probably been out to Las Vegas for conferences. I'm not too far from there.
Right. Yeah, we go out for Prosper every year and many other good conferences out there. So if you're out there, connect with Shane. He'll show you a good time. All right. And then last but not least, Nachman, the founder of Connect Books.
Hi, so my name is Nachman. I'm the founder of Connect Books. First of all, thanks, Colleen, for putting together this amazing webinar and getting an amazing lineup. I'm really excited to be part of this, and especially with so many great people. So thanks for that. I know a lot of hard work went into it. It looks sometimes easy, but I can't do it. So thank you for putting this all together. But yeah, so our headquarters is located in New York. I'm working out of the office in New York. We've been working from the office. And for Connect Books, what our primary goal is, we focus on accounting automation, but our angle on the accounting is not just about dumping data. It's not about garbage in, garbage out. By us, it's more about getting clarity and understanding the numbers. So, there's a lot of different accounting tools out there. And really what also makes Connect Books unique is that my background is accounting. I do have an accounting practice besides the software, and I've been doing already accounting for 12 years. And my approach always has been to really understand what's happening, really understanding. And when you really understand your numbers, that's the way you can actually change your business. Because if something is not going the right way, you're like, you say, hey, this doesn't make sense. We can't keep on doing this. But if you just have numbers where you don't understand them, then it's kind of not really helping you too much.
Very good. Thank you. All right, so that leads me to our discussion topics today. What you really came for is to talk about the current market challenges. We'll give you some support on how to overcome those challenges. We'll talk about what's changing or what's new with Amazon to make sure everybody's aware of a few things. Also, any hidden costs to look out for, how to speed up inbounds. We'll talk about pricing strategies during the pressure of Q4. How to avoid logistical nightmares. I'm sure everybody has a story to tell about a Q4 logistical nightmare. and also how to boost rankings and reviews, as well as some other tips that I think are going to come about just from our discussion. So I'm going to say goodbye to this slide presentation because you don't want to look at the slides, I know. Instead, we are just going to have a conversation, so you'll get to see everybody's beautiful faces as we chat. So Nachman, let's kick it off with you. Can you share with us what are you seeing or what do you predict to be one of the biggest challenges that merchants will be facing in Q4 this year?
So there's a lot of challenges facing Amazon businesses these days. As you know, as my background always is in accounting and finance, and as I said before, I always try to understand the numbers, not just about doing numbers. And you know, Amazon businesses are tough these days, but I do see a lot of good businesses still making a lot of money. And one of the things really what to look in a lot to is focusing on profitability. Now, what happens is I've seen many times people focus on profitability throughout the year, but when it comes like Q4, they kind of lose it. And they're like, okay, let's get a bunch of deals running. Let's get a bunch of coupons. And they rack up their sales, but then they forget about the bottom line. And the truth is, there are certain people that I know that make money. It's funny because there's two types of businesses. I've seen businesses that make no money all year and just in December make enough money to cover everything. They're like through the year billy managing. And then there's businesses that like, you know, throughout the year, they're pretty stable, but Q4 hits them. So we'll discuss both different scenarios. But the first thing what you want to make sure is even when you start bumping into Q4 and you're starting to hit up all these deals, you're starting to hit up the coupons or your ad spend. Sometimes when you like layer one on top of the other, like you'll run a lot of ad spend plus a coupon on top of that, it like really hurts your bottom line so hard, even if your sales like are 3 times the amount of a regular month, but your take home is not the same. You know, you want to try to work in that. And I've had many times where I've pushed sellers to do less sales, do a little bit less, but increase that bottom line. Because if you can increase your bottom line, you'll stay longer in business. If you can't increase it, just increasing top line is, you know, it's just a limit how much cash you have. And at some point, you just go bust. So what I always like to do is like, first thing is keep an eye out on the bottom line. Now, one of the biggest challenges, what happens a lot, and that's really where we have developed a certain report, which is very, very helpful for sellers, is we call it our comparison report. The idea is that you want to be able to see on one particular page where you can look at your sales, see all your ad spend, all your coupons, all your fees, and you want to compare it to the day before. Or let's say, for example, week over week, month over month. You want to be able to constantly compare and making sure that you're not just hitting it low down. You want to make sure you're constantly doing it. And I would say one of the biggest challenges I see, you know, in terms of like, is I would say storage fee definitely hits very high. So, you know, probably Blair and the other people from AMC Prep, they know better about how to optimize your inbound to Amazon. That's not my strong point. But what I do know is that, you know, I think Q4, and I've done it actually with other customers, that Q4, it's literally 3 times the regular month. So I actually told the seller recently, I said, look, let's take your July P&L and let's look how much your storage fees are. Let's triple it and let's see, are you still making money? Well, that's the kind of outlook you should put in for Q4. Now, that's also really where the comparison comes into, where you want to make sure that, you know, either you can hit it and still stay profitable. Because if you can't stay profitable, there's no point. Obviously, if not, you want to at least try to maybe like re-strategize your Q4 strategy where, you know, profitability comes first and think of it in that sense. And that's how, you know, you kind of stay profitable. So my real message is that, you know, Q4, you should be profitable no matter, you should always be profitable no matter how hard it is. It's because at the end of the day, you know, profitability is king. And, you know, we have gone through some crazy times in the last 2 years, you know, from going from COVID up to the peak to kind of dropping all the way down, economy going straight down. And now with the tariffs, you know, nobody's having an easy lunch. But one thing I did see is whoever puts profitability first, and that's what they eat, drink all day, and they make sure that those are the numbers in, and they make sure they have the proper numbers. Those businesses, you know, they're kind of swimming and surviving, you know, through the rough waters.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. And so speaking of you know, changes and challenges in Q4, one of the challenges that some sellers are going to see if they're using FBA prep services is that's ending at the end of December, right? So what is something that sellers can do now to prepare for that transition if they've been using FBA prep services? So Blair, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, what a sensitive topic, Colleen, for all at the moment. So yeah, so maybe just to backtrack for anyone who, everyone probably hears at this point, but so Amazon is removing the prep services in 2026. They've learned it's really hard. I think like we all have in the Amazon logistics world, and it is a hard business. And so I think Amazon has just started to prioritize other channels. Now for us, this has been like Colleen, it's been kind of a blessing. That prep name on AMZ has really started to finally, took a few years, Colleen, but we got it. And now, it's starting to pay for its fruits of labor, which is super good. And so we're getting some really incredible brands that just need the support just because they just didn't build that infrastructure internally. I think the biggest challenge that we're going to be seeing is that, going into next year, that prep change is just going to cause a bunch of compliance bottlenecks. So brands are going to think that their current 3PL can do it. They're going to make assumptions of how easy it is. That's going to mean mislabeling, miscompliance, and then a bunch of mess on the inbound. So I actually see more impact actually coming. I'll give my rants on Q4 afterwards because I know that's a big part of today's conversation. But I do see going into January is probably going to be one of the messiest months for brands, specifically because any ones that are doing prep, they now have to like learn this new flow, or they have to train their current 3PL, or they're gonna have to find a new warehouse that like specializes in it. Like it's gonna be a little bit tricky. But the good thing is that Amazon Prep's also really expensive. So I think from a bookkeeping perspective, this might be a win because Amazon's expensive, right? The prep fees weren't built and designed to be the most cost efficient. They're there to streamline things and create more efficiencies. So there's going to be wins for brands that now can do it in-house. Maybe it's like through a warehouse, maybe it's their own facility that they'll be able to shed some margin off of it. There's a learning curve. There's some compliance changes you have to keep in mind, but I think it's a net win for the category overall. It's a net win for AMZ specifically, but it's just a change. Like, did we expect anything else, Colleen, from Amazon? Like, if there's a
one thing
curveball,
that's constant, it's change, right?
yeah. So at this point, we just got to jump on the saddle and see what's ahead of us. But different day, different problem. You guys have all seen it.
Right. Well, speaking of bottlenecks, getting inventory into Amazon fulfillment centers during Q4 can be difficult to get it in fast. So do you have any tips on how to speed up inbounds going into Q4?
Yes. So to go forward, I'll just kind of take you guys through a little bit of memory lane of what happened last year. Shane, I'm curious what you saw on your side. So one of the biggest challenges last year, so Amazon rolled out placement fees March sometime back. And the goal around placement fee was really simple. It was Amazon used to take on the whole chunk of, hey, we'll actually just handle the splits on our behalf. So you used to be able to just send to one facility and then they would do the splits. And over time, Amazon made the exact call and say, hey, like, we're not going to do that. Like last year, they kind of just put their, the flag in the sand and said, hey, moving forward, you have two options, right? Send to one warehouse, or you can split it yourself, but I have to pay for freight, Colleen, to send to, 4 or 5 different facilities, which obviously isn't ideal from a cost perspective, but you save yourself that placement fee. And so what ended up happening was that Amazon last year built, and the reason I'm saying this is this will explain what's going to happen, is that so Amazon built out what they call their national network and then the regional network. Georgie, quick context, national network, it's called an NXID. And then there's a regional network called RXID. These are different Amazon facilities, really technical, but basically an NXID is like one of these massive hubs. So if you ship to one warehouse, all your stock actually goes to an NXID up here, and then it splits to the regionals, RXID. Now, if you split your shipment 5 ways, it goes directly to these regionals. So it's a lot faster because then the regionals ship directly to the Amazon facilities. But obviously so what happened was that as merchants got placed with placement fees, all these brands started rushing the national warehouses because it's a cross stock, right? Like product comes in and then they sort and then send to the regionals. And so what happened was in parallel with this, plus Amazon AWD, which is like their warehousing and logistics program, they really tried to oversell capabilities going into Q4 last year. And this caused like pandemonium across the entire network. And so what happened was that there was all these bottlenecks happening. And it wasn't even at the Amazon facility. It was at these like regional, what they call crosstalks, Colleen. So the crosstalks were bottlenecked, which means merchants couldn't get stock in, warehouses were getting blocked, right? Sometimes you couldn't even inbound. Like what happened last year was that like the West Coast facilities got blocked entirely. It was a mess. A lot of merchants got hit really bad because they couldn't get stock. Like you just couldn't get stock into an Amazon warehouse. Even if you tried, your inventory was almost frozen. Or if you tried to, it would take 3, 4, 5 weeks. And so that's what happened last year. And that was what caused this massive pain point for a lot of brands, which was out of stock, right? Because now they just couldn't be able to sell. So predictions going to next year in this Q4, I do think it's going to happen again. Now, a couple of things that can help speed up inbounds. And we ship in maybe 10 million items a month going to Amazon. We do a lot of it. So we have some good tactics in place. I think the number one key focus is make sure you never ship to a national cross dock. And the way you can do that is like, there's only two ways to go to a national. You're using Amazon AWD, right? Which is we should do a whole nother workshop together. I think as a collective, we probably all have opinions on it. Or if you're going to send to one warehouse. So when you're doing your Amazon shipment, if you send it to one and let Amazon do the splits, that's going to cause a national. You want to avoid that by all costs going into Q4. The reason for that is that they need to do the splits themselves, and it's going to bottleneck into Q4. We're already seeing right now AWD starting to bottleneck on the West Coast already. We saw it happening. It will continue. So one of the hacks is make sure that you split your shipments going into Q4. Split all your shipments. That's going to be key. Number two is that it's not a bad idea to look at something like a small parcel shipment. You could end up using so we have our own freight lanes, so you can always piggyback our trucks. But maybe run your own small operation. Small parcel might be the savior. It's going to be expensive, so I personally wouldn't advise it. But if you're doing your own fulfillment and not working with a 3PL that does all this Amazon work, small parcel can be a quick win. Faster inbounds, faster velocity. You still want to split it 5 ways, right? So make sure you continue to split it 5 ways. So that would be my second suggestion is start to double down on small parcel. It's going to impact cost, but speed into Amazon is going to be faster. And then, ideally, you're not holding as much stock from a storage perspective. And then I think my third tip is that Amazon is tough. Q4 is going to be tough. We love to have backup plans, Colleen. So the third thing I would suggest is if you have the privilege of setting up FBM, it's not an ideal channel. FBA is always going to be prioritized, but having this ability to toggle on and off FBA. So for whatever reason, say you can't get stock in fast enough, which is traditional for some brands going into Q4, is if you can have your warehouse set up so they can do FBM, right? Or maybe your own warehouse, you have a backup plan in place where, if you go out of stock, you can just toggle on FBM, right? Until stock gets back into Amazon. Like out of stock will be the most impacting thing. I know Shane, you'll be able to talk to this, and Georgie and so forth. Like if you can impact out of stock rate. So that would be my third suggestion is try to set up FBM, even for like the top 20% of your SKUs. And this way, goodness forbid you actually need it, you can just switch on the inventory accordingly. That's my 3 personal suggestions. Amazon's gonna be tough regardless, Colleen. So I wish I had a magic ball of what it's gonna look like, but past predicts future. I do see delays happening, but again, pre-plan, test out new options like small parcel, set up FBM if you have the ability to, potentially use a consolidation partner like us for our trucks getting in. And maybe just like go with Shane to Vegas and roll the dice a little bit is what I'm also thinking. I don't know, but you're gonna need a little bit of luck and a little bit of speed and a little bit of tactical. But this is why we're doing this workshop. So we can give you the tactical side, but you'll have to work with Shane on the luck side in Vegas. I think for the other side of what Q4 will be this year.
Yeah, great tips, great hacks. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing those.
Of course.
And then I guess lastly, are there any hidden costs that sellers should be looking out for when it comes to storage or inventory or prep? Anything else?
Yeah, you know what? I think Nishant mentioned it really well, is that one of the key costs that's creep up in Q4. So what happens is that most brands will try to proactively inject a ton of stock into Amazon very, very early. So we saw it in like August. Now September is one of our biggest months out of the year. It's weird because you would think it's November to some, which it is, but because all these brands are like preloading Amazon and we're like replenishing the facilities, it's a huge month for us. And so what happens is that these brands preload Amazon for Q4. Amazon storage goes up 4 times during Q4. They call it peak fulfillment, peak storage fees. And so it goes from 78 cents to $2 and some change. Nisham's gonna have a heart attack because I know this is his bread and butter. But that idea of like opportunity cost of storage, it's almost so hidden. Like unless you guys have a partner like Connect and so forth that can actually analyze this stuff, like it's really hard to dissect how much you're actually paying in storage and how that breaks down to an item level and a variable cost and so forth. But it can kill brands. We looked at one of these big brands, Colleen, and they're paying like $1 million+ in storage in Q4. And it's because they front loaded. So they didn't want to do inbounds in Q4 because they knew it was going to be slow. So they inject all their shipments in like August, September, which like amazing, like great use. Okay, so check mark. You get the stock in, so you don't have it out of stock, but you're gonna pay like 4 or 5x on your storage cost, and you're paying it for multiple months. That's even if you're allowed to, right? Amazon limits have really caused a bunch of the hiccups here. So I think that's my biggest suggestion, is the hidden cost of storage inside of Amazon. But again, the alternative is, you might need to rush shipments and go small parcel, right? Or if your 3PL is going to take a few weeks, that's also a hidden cost you need to keep in mind. Look out for storage. I think that's going to be critical. Shipping to 5 locations will be a little more expensive on the freight side potentially, but inventory in is going to mean a lot more, right? You're balancing this like salsa dance of like cash flow plus Amazon livestock plus spending on ads. Like it is a very difficult thought process, and I praise you guys being the Amazon experts to do it. But I think that checks my boxes, but I think storage will be the one that will creep in, that I would highly, highly advise working through great teams like some of the speakers on this session of like, look in at the end of the year of what your storage costs will be. I think you will be so wildly surprised. It's humbling once you actually get into the details, because it's not a cheap business, Amazon FBA. They, you pay the price.
Yeah, and just like Nachman said at the beginning, profitability, profit is king, cash is king. So knowing those
Sure.
costs is crucial, and knowing those
Yep.
costs so you can set your pricing strategy is important too. So that kind of leads me to a couple questions I have for Georgie when it comes to like pricing pressure and the dynamics of Q4. When the Q4 rush hits, how do pricing strategies make or break an Amazon or even Walmart seller?
Yeah, so using a repricing software is a must, especially during this really, really competitive time. We recommend to use a solution to increase profitability. The AI, let me just go back a step, the way that SellerSnap's AI works, and then I'll kind of go into more customizable presets and show you some of the options. But the way that it works is it was designed using an AI algorithm using game theory in order to really customize each individual competitive environment for each individual store, each individual listing, in order to really optimize from the beginning of Q1 all the way up until Q4. And the reason why this is super important is because when you're coming in and you're doing a manual-based repricing rule, you might run into price wars. You might run into issues where a competitor's undercutting you, you're undercutting them, and then you're just shooting down from like a really good profitability margin from your mid to max range all the way down to your minimum price, cutting into your margins. It's a nightmare when it comes to the end of the year. And so what we do is we set a parameter of your minimum and maximum prices, and then the AI does everything for you. It is going to jump up with an inbuilt yo-yo depending on the individual competitive environment, meaning how many competitors on the listing. It's going to analyze it, and through machine learning is going to understand when to enter into basically what we call a mini price war, to then jump the price up with using a very cooperative strategy and help everyone on the listing basically bring their prices up together. Now, obviously, during this time period, it's really important that we have different customizability. And I think this is the main important reason why using a repricing software at all times of the year, but also especially during this time of the year, is crucial. Because you can say, for example, that if you're not receiving sales, you can set to a more aggressive strategy. And this is what we call the win buy box strategy. And what it does is it basically builds a connection with the AI in order to only drop in price when it needs to drop in price. And so you're keeping your margins predominance of the time really high, keeping, if you want to add like an additional boost, have a yo-yo up to your max price. Additionally, you can really customize in that way, but you can also drop in price when you also want to, with the win buy box strategy and a few other strategies as well. Inventory age conditions, liquidation strategies moving into Q1 as well, getting rid of stock. So what we find with sellers, the individual kind of pain points and issues that they're finding is that when they come into the system, they're just dropping price all the way down to their minimum price. So this is just basically what we want to avoid at all costs, keeping prices high, only dropping when we need to, getting rid of stock, but not the key really is not selling out too fast. We can set fulfillable quantity conditions. We can set other conditions that mean that when your fulfillable quantity is below a certain amount, we can set to a kind of mid to max range in order to not sell out too fast during Q4. So that kind of customizability is really, really important when it comes to conditions and repricing strategies.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, it's already chaotic enough time to navigate so
Yeah.
many different logistics. So at least having those rules all set so that your pricing strategy is in place in an automated way with really intelligent software like SellerSnap is definitely a great strategy going into Q4. And as far as like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and holiday surges, do you have any other tips about staying ahead with the unpredictable market, especially at all of those, sale points and surge days?
So I think Nachman really hit the nail on the head when it comes to profitability and analysis of data. Recently, we released a new feature that allows for robust data and analytics, allowing to use all the data in order to really analyze the competition, competitive analysis, having a look at the any offer change notifications, being able to see your competitors, your overlap of ASINs, being able to basically be one step ahead at all time. The reason why the AI is designed using game theory is because our kind of ethos is being one step ahead of the game. Reason being, if you're one step ahead and you set up strategies based on all of your data analytics that is directly from the horse's mouth, meaning from Amazon, so we're not just making up data, we're able to then create repricing presets with our team in order to really, really make the most out of your sales during these busy months. And so I guess the data replenishment quantity suggestions, being able to predict what this market has in terms of competition during this time, it can best inform the decisions moving into the later months. So we work really, really closely from the minute a seller comes in through a trial period. We analyze their store, we analyze their data, we diagnose the issues, whether that's a high percentage of issues with deactivations. What's going on? Why do we have that? Let's use a dynamic max price feature, which was designed through our feedback from sellers in order to ensure that we don't lead to those deactivations. It's a very preventative model. So we use those kind of pain points, suppress buy boxes. Okay, so we incorporate suppress buy box reactivation logic within the AI itself. So you're not going to be dealing with any suppressions or deactivations during these busy months, because how annoying would that be? You want to be selling as much as possible. So we avoid all of those issues. And we also just work really closely to make customizable presets and adaptations on an individual granular SKU level in order to ensure that at that time, we're really, really maximizing every single sale that we can during these busy months for our sellers.
Great, great. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for growth in Q4, certainly.
Yeah.
So trying to maximize that and making sure that sellers can scale without burning out, automating where you can, I think it is crucial. So, great. Well, feel free to ask any questions throughout this webinar. We do have the Q&A or the chat that you can put it in either spot, wherever you're more comfortable. So feel free to ask any of our experts any questions related to Q4 or anything else we'll try to answer. But yeah, so we're talking about some changes at Amazon. Another big change that just happened in August, if you had not heard the news yet, is that there is now one click feedback ratings, or star only feedback ratings. So I know this has caused a lot of discussion and uproar on some of the forums, but what it means is now buyers can leave a seller feedback rating without leaving any comments. So I know for a lot of sellers, those feedback comments were valuable so you can understand what the feedback actually is. So just having a star rating can make it challenging. But this is something that's been around for reviews now for a couple of years. A couple of years ago, Amazon rolled out one-tap ratings for reviews. And Shane Barker is our product review expert. He's helped a lot of Amazon sellers remove negative reviews that are against Amazon's community guidelines, has helped a lot of Amazon sellers boost ratings and reviews. So Shane, what are your thoughts on this new change that Amazon just rolled out about feedback?
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having us, Colleen. I appreciate it. Some amazing speakers and everybody has some amazing things to say. I love it. I mean, we're going into quarter 4 and we got to be ready, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that can affect profitability and make things, either go right or in the wrong direction. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not excited about it. If I was a seller, that option came out, that Amazon put that out. Now, once again, I think the important thing to remember is that, as much as whether you like Amazon or don't like Amazon, it's Amazon's platform, right? So Amazon's going to do what Amazon does. And so we always have to, kind of move and shake. Colleen, you said it earlier. The only constant thing is going to be change. So if you're not a big fan on change, Amazon might not be the place for you, but it happens on all platforms. So, I mean, it is what it is. So we just have to figure out how do we move and shake, right? How do we get this thing moving forward? It's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be great. I think it's going to kind of suck for a lot of sellers. I mean, we look at things from a number of different perspectives. Obviously the reviews, but we also look at fraudulent reviews, right? And that's one big thing that we look at is somebody comes and attacks you, has a sock puppet account, a fake buyer's account, and comes after you. This opportunity isn't that it's not what Amazon's allowing is not going to make it any easier for sellers, right? Unfortunately, it's going to make it somebody wants to attack you or come after you. It's going to be, it's easier, right? And so, one of the things that we created almost a year and a half ago was the monitoring side of things. And so we monitor ASINs, right? To be able to see if anything comes in like that, if you get attacked or somebody's, saying something crazy, we automatically file, or we at least not automatically, but we grab the reviews automatically and then we file manually. So yeah, I don't think, I really wish there was something we could do to stop that, make that not an option. Obviously, I was really hoping for a little more, maybe another layer of protection to be able to authorize that they actually bought something, that they actually did something. But that's the reality of the situation. This is where we're at today. And, you just have to figure out my biggest thing for everybody is, how you're going to protect your ASINs, right? What are we going to do to make sure those are covered? Because everybody's heard horror stories around Prime Day or Christmas or, your big sales day. All of a sudden something happens, your hero ASIN gets knocked down, you magically get 10 reviews that are all, that you're like, oh man, now what do I do? You reach out to Amazon, which can be a daunting task to be able to get them to remove those reviews. So, our thing is, we've really refined that over the years. I mean, we've been doing this for about 5 years, 3 years, 2 years of really trying to figure out how to do it the right way. Finally cracked the code there. And I mean, we work with 600 brands that have moved over 14,000 reviews for our customers. So we're very, very prideful of that. And, we're excited about helping sellers in the future. Cause I know as we talked about today, there's a million other things to worry about, right? And reviews being obviously a big component of that. I mean, if you have terrible reviews, guess what? You're probably not going to be profitable. You're probably, no matter what your price is, it's probably going to be an issue. So it is the lifeline of Amazon. But when you talk to like Georgie and other people like that, I mean, can you imagine putting your price down to a number that you didn't need to if you could have been making an extra amount of profit and you have AI that looks at that, like that thing, and also understand your bottom line, right? We talked about that with Connect Books. I mean, if you don't know, you go and I got to offer the lowest price. That's what we're going to do. And then at the end, you're like, man, that sucks. We weren't profitable. It's like, which is a big component. It's one thing to win the game. It's another thing to be profitable, right? And so it's nice to be able to understand what is that point where you're going to be profitable, still be out there, but not absolutely winning, but offering your product at such a cheap price, right? We don't want to race to the bottom. That's never a good look. So, but that was a long answer for what the question was. But at the end of the day, I'm interested to see how this all plays out. But I really wish that it wasn't happening the way that it was happening, because I think it's going to hurt sellers more than it's going to help them, is the way I see it. But we're going to do everything we can to be able to offset that with the good things.
Yeah, and just continue to request reviews and feedback. Monitor your metrics more than ever, and make sure you're following Amazon's terms of service, which I know, Shane, you feel very strongly about that. So tell me a little bit about what makes TraceFuse's approach to review removal fully Amazon compliant.
Yeah. So compliance is obviously, I'm not going to say it's a number one thing, but it is, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not compliant, then who cares what your pricing is? Who cares if you connect to QuickBooks? I mean, none of that's even relevant if you get suspended, right? So at the end of the day, what we look at is compliance. We take that very, very seriously. I tell pretty much not every brand, but most of the brands that I talk to that I'm going to treat your brand like I would treat my mom's brand. And I really like my mom last time I checked, right? Shout out to my mom if you're listening. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like I treat it like this is how they feed their family, right? This isn't just, I look at this like if this was my business and I put anybody at risk, I just wouldn't feel uncomfortable with that, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this is a very serious thing, and you can be, at Amazon, as we all know, you can be banned for either things that are your fault or that aren't your fault, or maybe you didn't even do it, right? So we got to make sure that we really, hate to say tread on eggshells, but we just want to make sure that we were compliant. I look at it like if Amazon says this is compliant, we're doing stuff that's down here, right? And some of the ways that we stay compliant is A, we don't reach out to customers ever, right? We don't offer any kind of incentive or anything. We don't do anything that for review manipulation. We don't ask them to change reviews. What we're doing is it's a very easy concept in the sense that we're looking for things that violate Amazon's own guidelines, their own rules. That could be mentioning pricing, cussing, competitors, hate speech, even FBA related stuff, something was shipped late, broken, or used. Those are all things that we take a look at. That once again, Amazon says, hey, if we ship it and it was 2 weeks late and they put that on the product, that should be removed. Now, is that an easy process with Amazon? It's not, right? I mean, we've learned to figure out how to do it, obviously, over the years, doing it so that we have a very, very, very healthy success rate. And we're helping, like I said, about 600 brands that we work with. But that doesn't mean that it's going to get easier over time, right? I think it's going to be potentially more challenging over time as well, just because there's, Amazon really cares about. They don't care about sellers, but they really care about the consumer, right? They're very consumer focused. And so we have to remember that as sellers to say, hey, listen, like, what are we going to do to make sure you're 1,000% compliant? Because the last thing you want to do is get banned. And we look at that very, very seriously. Anything that comes out, if Amazon changes the rules, we're on top of it. We're always watching that. We're always watching the guidelines, see if there's any changes in the guidelines that they make. Once again, if Amazon, the other thing is filing cases. We don't file a ton of cases at a time. That's another thing. We don't ask for updates. Usually we're going to wait, like with brand registry, we're going to wait at least 10 days because that's internally, we know Amazon has 10 days to respond. We don't want to bombard Amazon every hour, every day. Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? That's not going to get you a win, right? Amazon doesn't work for you, even though I know you might want them to work for you. At the end of the day, you are a guest on the platform. So we have to understand that. And I think that's understanding where your place is in Amazon, right? And understanding that there is going to be change. I've talked to many sellers where they just started off and they said, oh my God, there's constantly changes. And I'm like, listen, you got to put on your seatbelt. There's just going to be changes. Amazon does what's best for Amazon because it's their business, right? Not to say they don't listen to sellers, but they definitely listen to consumers, right? Because that's where the money comes in. But I think they're open to it, but at the end of the day, you just really have to think about it and say, okay, what do I need to do to move and shake, right? What do I need to do to continue to be compliant, continue to get your sales up? And I think, working with people like we have in the webinar today is an excellent place to start, right? I mean, these people obviously get it. They've helped a lot of brands and good things are happening there.
Yeah. And I mean, a few negative reviews can really tank a product, right? So do you have any examples where you helped to remove a few negative reviews and it really did the opposite? It really helped to boost their rankings or sales back up after the review removal?
Yeah, we do. We actually have quite a bit of them. We have almost about 15 video testimonials on our website. So if you go to the website under About Us, we have like testimonials and success stories. And a lot of them depends on category. Some of them, were at a 4.3, dropped to a 4.2. They lost anywhere from 10 to 50% of their sales. So I'm not saying I love it when that happens. I hate it when that happens, but I love it when we're able to get them back up to a 4.3. So that, if you just drop down, it's easier to get you back up to that than if you drop down 2 years ago. Not to say it's impossible, but it's going to probably take a little more, more reviews being removed to be able to get you back up to that. We also have, a lot of people in the supplement space. We work with tons of supplement providers, some really, really big ones, and they get attacked. So, they have reviews that just, you can look at them, you're like, I call it my spider sense, kind of tingles a little bit. You look at it, you're like, that doesn't feel like a consumer review, right? That feels like somebody's coming after me, especially if you look at the velocity of reviews, how often they come in. These are all the kinds of things that our monitors, right? When we look at that to see when these reviews are coming in, and then we look at that and then we file manually, obviously, to make sure that everything's being taken care of there. But yeah, I think, obviously that's going to be a big, big issue, right? And we look at that, and as we talked about with the compliance earlier, and real world examples of how we help clients most of the time. And I try to tell people to be more proactive than reactive is, when people drop in sales, they have a drop in sales. They said, oh, shoot, Shane, now we need you guys, which is awesome. We want to help, but I would much rather have helped you before you guys dropped, right? To keep you guys at that position, because when you drop in sales, guess what? It becomes an, oh, crap moment, right? And like, oh shoot, now what are we going to do, right? We got to do everything we can to get that back up. My goal is, and one of the reasons I was excited about being on this webinar today, is being proactive, right? We should start in September, right? We should start looking at this now because we're going to be filing cases. we don't know if reviews are going to be removed in the first week or if it's going to take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month, right? Obviously, if the client wants reviews to be removed and we only get paid when reviews get removed, right? We're a performance-based company. We have the same goals, but it just depends on Amazon, how quickly Amazon will remove those reviews, right? So, and that can be fast or it can take a long time. So you don't want to get in a situation that if you're losing sales for a month or two and Amazon's not responding to the case filings, you could lose a good amount of sales in those times. So once again, be proactive, get the monitoring on there so that you don't have to worry about that ACE and you can work on PPC and costs and tariffs and accounting and all the other things that are not going to go away just because you're focusing on reviews. Our goal is to take away that headache for sellers.
And sellers can obviously reach out to Amazon themselves if they think they have a negative review that is eligible for removal. But your team knows how to do it very efficiently, very effectively. What are some common mistakes that a seller might make if they're reaching out to Amazon versus working with an expert like you?
Yeah. I mean, they're probably going to make the same mistakes that we made 5 years ago when we started this. I mean, there's just a lot of the things that we've learned through doing it the wrong way and understanding that Amazon's not going to respond if you do these certain things. So the big things that I would say is A, try to take the emotion out of it, right? When you're filing cases. I mean, I get it because what I always tell people is your product is your baby, right? And it's like somebody came, and I don't want to say punched your baby because that just sounds so aggressive on a webinar, but like I don't know, like said your baby's ugly. How about that? We'll just say that. It's probably a little more PC for the webinar. And so great, nobody wants their baby to be called ugly, right? I mean, for the most part, I would assume. And so really what we're looking at there is like you take that to heart, right? If somebody came and said your baby was ugly, you're going to be like, oh, you probably have some choice words to say to that person. It's the same thing with this, right? We get very emotional. We spend a lot of money, a lot of time. We have these products. We launch these products. We're super proud of it. And then guess what? You get these critical reviews. You get these reviews where either people are attacking you or they're talking about your competitor or those types of things. So in those examples, obviously what we need to do is you need to be able to take a look at those and step back. Give yourself about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, write something, send it to a significant other, to a wife, to a husband, to a brother, to a cousin, to a friend, to a mentor, to a pastor, to a priest, like whatever. Send it to somebody that's not in the middle of your business every day, that's not emotionally charged, and say, hey, this was going to be my response. How do you feel about this, right? Because responses to any of these, it's like a text message. You can read a text message from like a girlfriend, a wife, or anybody and look at it and go, I think they like me, but I'm not sure if they like me, right? Like there's always this, so you got to think about that when you're writing something. Are you being, is it a counterproductive in what you're writing there, right? You want to really write
Keep
something
it neutral and professional and
exactly, because Amazon, not that Amazon doesn't care. This is how you feed your family. But it's not Amazon's responsibility to feed your family, right? It's your responsibility. So at the end of the day, when we look at this, we go, okay, let's take the emotion out, right? Let's just stick to the facts, right? Let's stick to the facts of the cakes. And that's going to be the big thing, is really going in and taking a look and saying, okay, what is the angle here, right? Now, this is how I feed my family. Hey, Amazon, you're dropping the ball. Hey, I wish you guys would respond to more of my messages. You guys are terrible on that side. I don't know if you've ever fought with anybody, but when you start off that way, it usually doesn't end in your favor. I don't care what it is, whether you're on Amazon, just the real world, it's just not the way to do things, right? You got to kind of pull back a little bit. The other thing is don't harass Amazon. Don't keep sending them emails every hour. It's not like, customer service doesn't have anything to do. Do I think that Amazon could be a little better on the customer service side? I think we could all agree with that, right? I think that would be a nice thing to have. But if they're not, guess what? Then you have to figure out, once again, how do you move and shake, right? How do we make that happen? How do we still be able to get through to Amazon? And my recommendation, and I might be a little biased, is to hand that off to somebody that is good at that. Right? Like when I was younger, I call it Shane 1.0, I would always take on everything myself. Oh, I'll take it on. I could do it. Look at me. I'm going to roar. I'm a business owner. What I realize now that I'm older, right, is that like Shane 3.0, right? I'd like to think that I've gotten wiser, but really what I'm looking at is I hire people that can take away those headaches for me. Right? Like I don't need to pave the way. I don't need to go figure everything out, right? I don't need to, you're not going to go create software, the AI that shows you how to reprice things. You got Georgie here. Like, why are you trying to figure that out? Right? Like the same thing with reviews. As long as you can afford the service, which once again, you only pay for reviews that get removed, then if your margins are real tight, obviously, then we might not be a good fit for you. But at the end of the day, I can tell you that once you don't have to worry about the reviews as much and you can focus on other things, that's what you have to figure out. If you're a small team, like what are the things that you can delegate, right? And what are those things and if you had any success with it? So I will tell you this, Colleen, we do have a tool. So, because I encourage people to try it on their own before they work with us, because at the end of the day, I would love it if they removed the reviews. Obviously, would cut into the clients that we have, but at the end of the day, if I can show you how to do it, you can do it on your own. That would be awesome, right? Because a lot of people can't afford these services or afford, hire 20 different people to do all these things. So we actually have on the website called the Amazon Review Checker. And what that is, that's a way that somebody can put in their ASIN, verify their email address, and we'll actually give them a report. And the report will tell them their last, whatever, 5 to 10, 15 reviews and which ones are in violation, what violation they violate for Amazon's guidelines. So we offer that as a free tool because, once again, I would love for somebody to go in, be able to file their own cases, crush it, come back to me and say, hey, your free tool made it so we knocked down 3 reviews and we went back up to a 4.3. I would love that. Like, those are the things that make me happy, because obviously I want to be profitable and I want to make money and all that fun stuff. But if somebody could do this on their own and not need us, and that's the way they feed their family, like, I get a lot of joy out of that. You'll see anytime I get a video testimonial, I kind of lose my mind a little bit. And my team's like, you're a little crazy, which I'm on the outskirts of crazy, which is okay. More passionate than crazy, right? It's more like 98% passionate and 2% crazy about what we do here at TraceFuse. But yeah, we're excited about helping people. That's our big goal, helping sellers.
Great, great. Well, for the sellers that are still here with us, feel free to ask any questions. We do have a couple, so we'll go ahead and address those now. So Georgie, we have one for you about customizing notifications. So this person's saying, I would like to get notified when my products aren't repricing. Is that something that Seller Snap has built into your tool?
So it's
I guess maybe if there's some clarification that someone can ask there on that question.
Yeah, I guess there's a difference between the items that aren't repricing at all versus, and that would be like a much wider issue with Amazon and the repricing software. It would be a very, very rare occurrence. So if an item or a list of items was not repricing, then it would be something that our team would figure out straight away. When it comes to not repricing, meaning, dynamically enough, this is kind of veers towards the more repricing presets, analysis of your data, in which case it will be more of a kind of preventative model to make sure that we're repricing effectively. But yeah, in answer to that question, it would be noticed immediately if items weren't repricing.
Great. And Shane just shared the Amazon Review Checker in the chat, because we did have somebody ask for that. So the link is there. So feel free to click on that. Or actually, you know what? I think maybe it was just a host and panelists. Let me go ahead and send that to everybody. There we go.
I just want to send it to Georgie so she had it. I know she might need it as well. So I just, I like to give it to everybody. Yeah.
Very good. All right. And so we have one other question here. Which categories do you suggest to resell during this season? Oh, that's the magic question, right? Like, what do I sell? What's gonna be the hot item this summer, this winter, that's gonna make make me profitable? I would say I think there's a lot of scouting tools out there to get an idea of what to sell. I think it also has to deal with like who your suppliers are, where you can get the best pricing from manufacturers so that you can make a good profit. But obviously there's a lot of seasonal categories like toys and holiday items. So it just depends on if your strategy is really to dive into those seasonal peak items, or if you want to start selling something that might continue trending past the Q4 season. But any other tips on what categories to sell?
I guess it's always difficult to say, a concrete answer when it comes to this, because Amazon's constantly changing. So it's important to be flexible and creative with the categories. But I would say that through advanced analysis, we can tell which categories, and that's on an individual store basis. So it would be a kind of, a deep analysis to see which items are working for you each year. And then adapt accordingly. Yeah.
All right. Are there any other topics or tips that we want to share that we did not cover today? We'll keep it open for questions, but any final comments from any of our presenters?
No, just thanks for putting this on. This was awesome. We had some amazing people, some great insights, especially going into Q4. if I was a seller, man, I'd be reaching out to a number of these people in the panelists. So appreciate you guys putting this together.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think this is a
just
really helpful group. So I'm happy to share anybody's contact information if you need it. But definitely, yeah, follow us all on LinkedIn. All of the folks here on the call today are on LinkedIn and are always sharing some great insights. So that it's great to connect with them on LinkedIn as well.
thank you so much, Colleen, and all the other presenters, because it's been really fun actually to engage with so many other sellers and people who are just in this space, because it's a really exciting time of year. So bounce ideas off each other, and like Shane said, you know, we're not in it alone. We're in this as a kind of team together, figuring it out. The world of Amazon, eh?
That's right. That's right. Well, thanks for joining us from all around the world. Wishing everybody a great fourth quarter. Hopefully you all end the year strong, and reach out to any of our presenters if you need assistance with anything that we can help with. We're here for you, and wish you all the best. So thanks again.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.